Hi, this is Jenny Brav of Radiant Wholeness Healing, and today I wanted to do a talk and tap on how to go from doing mode as our way of getting a sense of a worth and identity and enoughness to being. And if you've been following my channel for a while and closely, you might have noticed that I haven't put out a video in a couple of months. And for me, I feel like the past couple years at least have been this process of death and rebirth and shifting out of a timeline where a lot of my focus and my way of being a channel for healing energy was through doing and plans and goals, ones that were definitely in alignment with source and my intuition and my higher self. And there was a lot of doing and pushing involved and bracing, and it definitely had an impact on my physical body and mental health. This is in terms of lifelong patterns. And then very early in January of last year, of 2025, I dislocated my left shoulder for the sixth time due to a connective tissue disorder I have and falling, which then led my right arm to freeze, just go on strike, didn't want to compensate anymore, which meant that I didn't really have the use of at least one arm for most of last year and both arms for maybe 5 or 6 months, which meant that I had to really shift out of doing mode and simplify and cut out anything extraneous and really get back into what felt important to me. And even as both arms have and shoulders have mostly rehabilitated, I have continued to be guided to let go of my to-do lists and doing as the measure of safety and whether I feel good about my days and anchor into beingness. What I found, though, is that it wasn't as easy as I thought. I think I expected that once I shifted out of doing, if I set the intention to be in flow, and I do quite a lot of swimming. And when I do, I'm really intentionally visualizing getting into flow state. I thought that then things would be coming to me from that flow state. And what I found was that accessing beingness actually tapped into freeze for me. And whenever I tried to get into the flow state, parts of me, especially my solar plexus, felt really frozen, stuck, paralyzed. And it felt like I could either be in push mode or I was in paralysis mode. So I've been doing a lot of clearing and healing on that, and this might resonate with some of you, it might not. And I'm hoping that through this journey, you can find your way into beingness, being enough, being the default, and then everything else being just an added bonus. Because when we're talking about moving from one to the other, it doesn't mean that we're not going to act or be called to act. It just means that it'll be coming from this place of alignment, guidance, inner knowing, flow, trust, rather than a place of scarcity, lack, fear, push, override. So that's a good segue into defining what I mean by toxic productivity. And you can call it whatever you want. It could be unbalanced doing or doing with no off button, whatever resonates with you. And For me, it's really doing action that stems from this state of not enough, of fear, of lack. And so the doing can feel very jittery. If you feel into your body, there's often an association between the push doing mode and shoulders being up, the head being forward, a lot of jaw pain, neck pain. Just doing that feels uncomfortable. So, yeah, you can feel into that in your body. And so when the fuel for the doing is lack, then we're constantly moving the goalpost. And it might feel like this endless task list that we're constantly trying to check off before we get to finally rest, before we get to feel safe. There's often a safety component and a worth component to this toxic productivity where we're looking to the accomplishments, the doing as ways of feeling better, of getting worth, of getting validation, of feeling like we're okay. And our minds will tell us when we do all these things, then we get to rest, then we get to feel okay. So there's a lot of conditionality and holding ourselves on a tight leash. So the energy can feel really heavy. There's often this sense of pressure, of push, override, which then can lead to overwhelm, and the opposite of the push, the paralysis. And there's also kind of this sense of no off button. We're constantly moving the goalpost of the if then, because we reach one goal and then we move it to the next thing. Well, okay, I said that if we did this, then that, but actually, if we do this, then that. And so we never actually reach the point of getting to relax, rest, and it's this continuous expectation of growth rather than feeling into cycles. It's like we have to always continuously be progressing, doing better. There's no room for what we consider to be mistakes. There's a lot of inner critic activity, a lot of either or. It's very stressful. And it's often a zero-sum game that if we aren't being productive, then like our worth is kind of zero. And in a minute, I'm going to invite you to slow down and feel into what this looks like for you. And there's also a performance quality to it. So we're doing things maybe in a performative way. We're focused on appearance and how things look to others and other people's perceptions. So it's very focused in our minds. All the energy is funneling through head, mind, and then these external things. And it's also very future based rather than just a landing in the present moment in a state of trust and okayness. Then this present moment is actually just almost being suspended. It's like we've reversed future and present, where the future, we bring the future now, and everything we're doing in the present is just intended to feed this hypothetical future. All right, that's a lot of words, so let's take a breath. And the truth is that the future is based on building blocks of the present moment. And the best predictor of the future is what we're doing right now. So if in the present moment we are stressed and pushing and feeling not enough and in an either or place, right, wrong, good, bad, afraid of making mistakes, then when we get to the if then place of the future, we'll probably be doing the same thing. Conversely, in this place of beingness as our baseline from which action stems, if that's what is called for in the moment, then it feels rather than linear, it's much more cyclical and circular. So we're landing in this place in terms of body rather than all the energy being up here in the jaw and the neck and the shoulders, the head being forward, the legs kind of come last. Instead, we're in a place of more alignment. The head is stacked over the heart, over the pelvis. My pelvic bowl kind of goes like this, a little pelvic tilt, so that I can lean back. There's much more energy. I'm feeling my pelvis much more. This gets to relax. I'm feeling my legs, my feet more. There's more space in my rib cage, more breath. Yeah, it feels much more open rather than bracing. And this is a place really where the fuel is trust rather than the fear, the lack, the not enough. This is a place of trust, of enoughness, of abundance, space, openness. The other thing that I forgot to say, I don't have notes here, so things are coming as they come in a non-linear fashion. And I might do a separate video on this. We'll see. If you want me to, let me know in the comments below. But the other shift between the toxic doing, the unbalanced doing, and this circular, grounded beingness is one is a place of have to, and the other is this place of get to, of excitement, opportunity, gratitude around the exact same things. Our external life does not need to shift in any way for us to feel really differently and be holding our life really differently. So, in this place of beingness as the baseline, we're in the enoughness and the get tos, there's breath, space, we can pause. We trust the cycles. We know that there are some cycles where doing and productivity is not going to be the main thing. And then there are periods where we're really connected to creation energy. And creation energy, when we are clear channels, is often looking for conduits to flow through. So, and if it's not flowing through us, it just means that we're not in that place. We're in a place of resting, of clearing the channels, of healing. And that is just as, if not more, productive and important and healing to our systems. Because again, in our culture of unbalanced, toxic doing, that's the only thing that is valid. And we might understand, oh, life work balance and throw those words out and know that we need breaks. And they're often still not viewed in the same way or as being equally productive and needed to our being. Just as when nature is not in a greenhouse or sterile environment, it has cycles, and the cycle of hibernation is just as important as the season of spring and growth. And in fact, one feeds into the other. So in the beingness, there's this sense of trust. We're really prioritizing joy and honoring our own sacred yes and no, our own knowing. And this is one that definitely came up for me in cultivating the beingness, was really needing to clear the parts of me that were holding on to definitions of selfishness and laziness. And so in the beingness, we've cleared those old limiting beliefs, and we're in this place of get to around, I was going to say self-care, but I don't love the connotations that that has nowadays. More of like we get to honor ourselves, or the sacred vessel temple of our embodiment, our physical selves. We get to really luxuriate in the opportunity to nourish ourselves, to rest. That's been a lot of this year for me, was rest and nourishment and trust and surrender and getting back to basics. And this place is much simpler than the complicated, convoluted, contortionist gymnastics that the mind can make us do in the doing place. So there might be more, but I think I'm going to pause for now. And I invite you to close your eyes and take deep breaths. And as you do, feel into your body and where this place of doing that's driven by lack and scarcity and fear and wounds around safety, where that lives in your body. There might be a bracing quality to it, or tightness, or hunching, or protective quality to it. And just noticing. And noticing if there are any emotions associated with this quality in your body. And it might be fear, it might be stress, it might be insecurity, confusion, frustration, powerlessness. And as you feel into the emotions and the physical sensations, notice what beliefs you might have absorbed, developed, what messages you received in your youth, both about doing and about not doing. What was modeled for you, what you learned to associate with it, any messages you received about achievement, about where your worth comes from. It might be at school, at home, modeled by people in your family, either the same thing or maybe the opposite. Noticing what for you might be associated with doing. Is it safety? Is it worth? Is it purpose? And how it might feel when you're not doing. And as you notice these old beliefs that you developed and associations you have, things that might have gotten coupled with the doing, I invite you to sense, feel, imagine that you're following the physical sensations in your body, the emotions, the beliefs back in time. And you might get to a time in your childhood. This might be an ancestral memory, maybe even karmic or past life. You might get an image, a physical sensation. You might hear something, smell, taste, knowing that whatever senses you're receiving information with is perfect. And you might get a time frame, a memory. Might feel almost like a dream state where you're getting a metaphoric representation for what is living in your heart, body, and mind. It might be a fragment of something, a fully formed memory, whatever it is, it's perfect and enough. And just nod to whatever you're receiving. If there's a younger version of you, nodding to them. And then when you're ready, sensing, feeling, or imagining that you are reaching out to a version of you. This could be your future self, parallel self, higher soul, wise self. A version of you that is already living from this place of beingness, that is inherently trusting life, that acts from a place of flow and certainty, and knowing that you're enough and everything else is a bonus. And again, you might get a visual of this version of you or hear something or feel it in your body. And when you do, reach across time and space to this version of you and let them know that you're an earlier or a different version of them who's still a bit caught up in doing for your sense of safety and worth and identity and enoughness. And ask them what qualities they embody. Just noticing, basking in that. And asking them if there's a practice that you could do that might help you get from where you are right now to this place of more beingness that they're in. And if nothing comes, that's totally fine. Otherwise, when you're ready, I invite you to tap on the side of your hand. You're going to repeat after me, feeling free to modify the words as needed to resonate with you. Even though part of me is caught up in doing, as a way of getting my sense of self, of worth, of safety, of validation, of enoughness. And another part of me is holding the vision of inherent worth, knows that I am enough exactly as I am. I love and accept myself deeply and completely, even with all of this. High part of me that absorbed messages about doing and not doing, that developed doing and productivity as a coping strategy, as a way of feeling more in control, middle of the sternum, less lost, ribs, as a way of getting validation and recognition, side of the body. I see you. Wrist. I feel you. Other wrist. Thank you for working so hard. Tapping all over the head 24/7. Inside of the eyebrows to try to make sure that I am enough. Outside of the eyes. That's exactly what you felt you had to do. And I acknowledge any young part that developed this as a strategy to feel less powerless, to feel some sense of validation and enoughness. Middle of the sternum, hi, younger self, ribs. That was exactly what you had to do at the time. Side of the body to survive. Your family, or the rest, the culture you were raised in or you're living in. Tapping all over the head to survive school and whatever educational system you were in. Inside of the eyebrows. It was brilliant and brave of you. Under the eyes to disconnect from your inherent beingness, under and above the lips, and worth. Under the collarbone, the part of you that was carefree and spontaneous. middle of the sternum, acted from a sense of joy, ribs, curiosity, and exploration. Side of the body, breathe. Because that place didn't feel safe. Wrist. Made other people worry or upset. Other wrist. Or disappointed them. Tapping all over the head, and I'm so sorry you got the message. Inside of the eyebrows. That just being is lazy, outside of the eyes, selfish, under the eyes. That you learned that doing and being were an either or, and one was worthy and the other wasn't. Under the collarbone. And the good news is, middle of the sternum, that was a while ago. Ribs. And we now have resources and choices that we didn't have before. Side of the body, under the armpits. And in fact, we're learning that being, wrist, and our body that houses our beingness, of the wrist, are our most precious resource. Tapping all over the head. Inside of the eyebrows, and we're learning that when we do from a place of flow under the eyes and overflow under and above the lips, and trust under the collarbone, and joy, middle of sternum, and curiosity, ribs, the very things you learned to disconnect from. Side of the body, which we're now reclaiming as our birthright. Wrist. There is so much more space for everything. Now the wrist, life gets to be so much more enjoyable and fun. Tapping all over the head, we get to let go of the pressure cooker inside of the eyebrows and all the efforting outside of the eyes and the stress under the eyes, the overwhelm under and above the lips, the pressure under the collarbone, the lack, the fear, middle of the sternum, holding ourselves in such a tight leash. Good, let's take a deep breath. Let's pause. And let's gather from our neural pathways all these beliefs about what makes us good, productive members of society, about laziness, about selfishness, and gathering all the coping strategies, all the sticky energy that we might have around doing. It might be in your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, might be in your arms, your hands, could be in your solar plexus. Disempowerment or giving our power to doing to give us a sense of worth. Once you've gathered all of that, hold it out in front of your energy field and just nod to all of that. Nod to any people you might have inherited this from, nodding to your young self, nodding to our societal expectations and this system that is bent on and built on lack and linear growth and never enough and always moving the goalpost. And we're going to nod to all of that, acknowledge that it has served a purpose for the collective, for our families, for our past life selves, if that's relevant, for our younger self. And recognizing it no longer serves any purpose. So when you're ready, we can either put this down, or if you want, we can send it to the light of source. To any element, fire, earth, wind, water, for composting, recycling, releasing any cords from your body, especially those areas that are tight and bracing and pushing. Really releasing it from your nervous system, releasing your nervous system from being stuck in the sympathetic loop of the toxic productivity and rewiring it into parasympathetic, the rest, digest, that place of nourishment and get to. And from here, let's imagine that we have a box that has the word action or doing. And we're going to blow off any energy of pressure, of any like coupling and confusion with worth and identity and safety. We're going to blow all that off. So that it's just pure energy of divine aligned action. And once it feels really clear, we can drop that energy back into the crown so that we are reclaiming this as our birthright. And if you want, you can close your eyes and really feeling this rewiring of your neural pathways and your nervous system and all the systems in your body, the organs, the lymph, the tissues, the bloodstream. Rewiring on a cellular level from that place of lack and fear-driven doing and action and future orientation and never enough. So much fear of making a mistake, to this place of beingness is your baseline, which is tied to enoughness. Just feeling yourself landing here, feeling your body realign, resting in your pelvic bowl, feeling your legs and feet anchored deeply in the ground of your beingness. Feeling how when you ground here, grounding down into connection to the earth and then rising up through your crown, connecting to the celestial realms, feeling how when you are reconnecting to sacred alignment and flow, being a channel for what wants to come through, for guidance. An action feels natural and effortless, or at least a lot more effortless than it was. From here, maybe if you haven't already, merging with that version of you that lives from this place, opening to any message, anything this version wants to show you. Feeling this anchor again into the neural pathways, the nervous system, and then bringing all this beautiful healing and yumminess into your heart. Filling all four chambers of your heart with this innately worthy beingness as the ground of your becoming, of your unfolding. When you're ready, letting it radiate back out, up and down your timeline, the time frame. Letting it radiate back out, up and down your timelines, the lifetimes, the generations, all the versions of you that come before and after this. Sending it to all people and places that could use some of this healing. When you're ready, opening your eyes if they were closed, tapping all over this beautiful temple of your body, shaking it out, touching something grounding. And thank you so much for going on this journey with me. I would love to hear in the comments below what you experienced, what the difference between doing and being, doing from lack and being as the baseline for enoughness is, and anything else that came up for you. And as always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and turn on notifications to help with the algorithms and make sure that you don't miss any videos. Thank you so much.